One morning, Chinechere was on her way to the market to get some food items when she overheard some group of beautiful maidens gossiping her and making mockery of her body size. She pretended like she heard nothing and continued her way. And whenever she felt humiliated, she would also remember her grandmother's words. Do not pay attention to them. Whenever they laugh at you, pretend like you are deaf and walk away. Don't give them the chance to spoil your happiness. You are in charge of your happiness and you alone can decide that. Once upon a time, there lived a beautiful young maiden named Chinechere. She lived with her grandmother. She lost her parents at the age of 5, and her grandmother had been the one taking care of her, as she was the only parent she had. As Chinechere began to mature, her body size also increased. Years later, Chinechere had grown into a beautiful young maiden, but despite her beauty and hard work, no man ever thought twice of coming close to her, let alone asking for her hand in marriage because of her size. And they will always make mockery of her, calling her a robber. Chinechere was not only hardworking, she was also a good dancer, and whenever she's sad, she would dance out her pain and sorrow, but that was the only way she could forget her pain. One morning, Chinechere was on her way to the market to get some food items when she overheard some group of beautiful maidens gossiping her and making mockery of her body size. She pretended like she heard nothing and continued her way. On several occasions, the villagers find every given opportunity to laugh at her and remind her of her body size. And whenever she felt humiliated, she would also remember her grandmother's words. Do not pay attention to them. Whenever they laugh at you, pretend like you are deaf and walk away. Don't give them the chance to spoil your happiness. You are in charge of your happiness and you alone can decide that. Whenever she remembered those words, she had every reason to be happy and strong. It was the king's birthday, and every maiden was given the chance to come and perform their very best dance step to entertain the king and his royal household. All the maidens were so excited and privileged to showcase their talents. On the day of the king's birthday, every young maiden were present at the palace to give in their best. They all performed very well, and when it was Chinechere's turn, the villagers began to laugh at her and started chanting Orobo from the crowd. The young men of the village told her that no matter how hard she tried, the king wouldn't notice her, and that no man in his right senses would look at her twice, let alone marrying her. Other maidens also said to her that men of their village love slim and beautiful maidens like them and not a bag of garri like her. While some said even if she fast and pray for 12 months, she still won't reduce, and that being fat is a curse and a disease. After hearing all that from the villagers, she felt humiliated, left the palace and ran back home in tears. When her grandmother saw her crying, at once she knew something had gone wrong at the palace. She tried to console her, but the humiliation was too much for her to bear. For days, Chinechere decided to stay in her hut just to avoid being mocked by the villagers. After isolating herself from the villagers for days, she decided to take a walk in order to feel the cold breeze of nature. She made her way through the bush path to avoid the villagers and their taunts. For many weeks, The villagers noticed her absence and they began to wonder where she could have gone to. Some concluded that maybe she committed suicide or probably ran away to another village just to avoid them. This continued for months, and the villagers were all worried about Chinecherem's absence. Some of the villagers visited her hut to check, but her grandmother walked them out and never to return. While all that was happening, Chinecherem had gone out for a walk that morning and was later told all that happened by her grandmother. Chinecherem smiled and said, "They are worried about me because their lives are beginning to get bored, because I'm no longer available for them to humiliate." And she went inside to rest. That afternoon, while she was resting, she slept off and saw herself dancing. Everyone was present, including the king, men of timber and caliber, and everyone was happy to see her dance, and she was chosen as the best dancer. She woke up surprised and confused. She told her grandmother about the dream, and her grandmother told her never to give up on her dream and happiness. She also reminded her of the New Yam Festival. Her grandmother's words motivated her, and she decided to choose happiness over sadness. And since then, she started practicing alone in her hut and sometimes in the bush away from her hut and from the villagers. One day, while she was in the bush dancing, King Igwebike was taking a walk with some of his palace guards when they saw her dancing all alone in the bush. How can someone be so talented to an extent of dancing so well without any music? King Igwebike asked no one in particular. Who is she? What is her name and who are her parents? King Igwebike asked his palace guards. Her name is Chinecherem. She is an orphan. She lived with her grandmother in their small hut, and she is popularly known as Orobo by the villagers because of her body size. The guards replied, I see. But one should not be judged by their physical appearance, and with the way she dances, I can tell that it's from her heart, and she was born with it, King Igwebike said as they watched her dance for hours. And since then, King Igwebike kept visiting the bush to watch her dance unknowingly to her. King Igwebike was a lover of dance, with or without music. His late wife was a good dancer before she died, and since then he finds it hard to marry another woman who can't dance very well, like his late wife. Several occasions, he purposely organized parties in order to pick the best dancer as his new queen, but unfortunately, none of the maidens got his attention with their horrible dance. But seeing Chinecherem as she danced very well reminds him of his late wife, who was a good dancer. And in no time, he began to feel something special towards Chinecherem. He would go out of his palace every day to the bush to watch her dance. 2 days to the New Yam Festival, a message was sent round the village saying that the king, King Igwebike, would be choosing a new queen on that day, and all the maidens are to be present at the palace to showcase their best dance step, and that any maiden who danced very well will be chosen as the new queen of the land. On hearing that, Chinecherem was happy and at the same time sad. She remembered what happened during the king's birthday and the peace she've obtained for the past few months. She decided not to attend the New Yam Festival in order for the villagers not to humiliate her again. Her grandmother tried to convince her to attend and participate in the New Yam Festival activities, but her mind was already made up. The next day, she heard a knock on the door, and when she opened the door to check who it was, behold, it was the palace guards who had come to deliver a message to her from the king. The king is inviting all the young maidens to the palace for the New Yam Festival and dance competition. The king will be very angry with your absence, the guards said, and they left immediately before she could ask further questions. Hearing that from the palace guards made her change her mind, for she don't want to be the reason for the king's anger. 21 market days later, everybody was present at the palace, including the beautiful maidens who were of marriageable age. When they saw Chinechere, they were all surprised to see her. The noisy crowd was frozen for a while, filled with shock to see her, as they thought she had run away or probably committed suicide because of their taunts. And for a moment, the villagers were lost in thought and forgot to mock her for being fat, and they also believed that the king won't settle for a fat maiden like her. So they decided not to make mockery of her in order for the king not to see them as troublesome maidens, and also for them not to lose the chances of becoming the next queen. After the dancing competition, the king was happy to know that his female subjects were good dancers, but not as good as Chinechere, and that made him so excited and anxious to see Chinechere dance. Meanwhile, Chinechere was yet to dance. She stood at the back of the crowd, scared and worried that the villagers might stop her from dancing, but her grandmother's words of wisdom and hope motivated her, and she walked boldly from the crowd, began to dance the moment the king caught sight of her dancing. He was overwhelmed with joy and happiness, for he thought that she wouldn't partake in the competition just to avoid the villagers. Chinechere danced for hours with joy. She was so happy for not refusing the king's invitation, for it was the best thing that she had ever done, and it also gave her the opportunity to show the villagers that despite being fat and being called Orobo, she got an amazing talent in her. As she danced to express her excitement, the villagers were so amazed to see her dance in amazing and unique style, including the young men of the village who wouldn't think twice before mocking her. The other maidens were so shocked to see Chinechere moved her body so well, following the beating of the drums. King Igwebike and his royal friends from other villages were so excited. This is my first time of seeing a fat maiden dance so well with happiness and joy, one of his royal friends said. You can say that again, King Igwebike replied with a happy smile. After she had finished dancing, the crowd stood up to appreciate her, jubilating and chanting her name out loud. While the multitude were celebrating her, King Igwebike wore her a royal necklace for not only winning the competition, but winning his heart as well, since the very first day he saw her dancing in one of the village bush. Everyone was surprised. King Igwebike told her in front of everyone that after watching her dance for few days in the bush, she captured his heart, and that Chinechere reminded him so much of his late wife, and he decided to specially invited her to the New Yam Festival. After addressing the crowd, and then he announced to everyone and declared her as his new bride and queen of the entire kingdom. Again, everyone was frozen in shock, including the beautiful maidens and young men of the village who mocked and rejected her because of her fatness. They all regretted their actions and wished they could turn back the hands of time. Her grandmother was so happy. She thanked her grandmother for not giving up on her, and also thanked her for her words of encouragement. King Igwebike, together with his new queen Chinechere, ruled their subjects with love, compassion, and hope. Lessons from this story is that Never give up on your dreams or talents. Never mock anyone with their physical challenge, for you know not what tomorrow has in stock for them. And also don't forget that one man's food is another man's poison. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story and you learned one or two from this story, please let me know at the comment section. And also don't forget to subscribe, like and share. It helps us a lot to grow more. See you soon in our next story. Bye.